In this video, I will show how to implement the Google Open authorization both on the client side and on the server side. I won't use this quite popular library, and I will say why in the end of this video. Let's start with introduction. This mechanism is used by companies such as Amazon, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and Twitter to permit the users to share information about their accounts with third-party applications or websites. In other words, with your server application and with your website application. I will create the Angular application and the NestJS application. As for the Angular application, the code will be so vanilla, so you can use it in any kind of your website application, such as React, Vue.js, etc. Let's look at this article. The link I will leave in the video description below. Let's start with creation of the Google application. Let's create a new project. All the information you need is on this page. At the beginning, I will show a quite simple implementation, and then I will improve that using stage. Now I am creating a new NestJS project in the same folder. The project is created. Now I will install some dependencies. Now let's install types. Now let's start the NestJS application. Let's create a Google strategy. At first, I'll create a new module. Now I'll create a Google strategy file. Just copy this code. Now I will create the Oauth model. The Oauth controller and the Oauth service. Let's inject the Oauth service into Oauth controller. Now let's create the endpoint which will choose the Google account. Now we can try this endpoint. Everything okay? Let's create callback endpoint. Now we can get this user with its properties in the request. Now we have to store this user. I will do that with NestJS caching. Let's install packages. Also, I will install types. Let's add it in imports. Let's inject the cache manager. Also, we have to create the ID for this user. I will install this package. What about this parameter? If we look at the documentation, this is expiration time in seconds, but it seems to be not the seconds, but the milliseconds. We can add this code in order to check it out. As you can see, this is 10 seconds. And now we created a new Angular project in the same directory. Let's start the Angular application. Everything is okay. In order to save your time, I've just added this simple layout and styles. It looks something like that. Also, I added this line of code. What did happen now? We pressed this button and were redirected to this endpoint. Then, with this strategy, we were redirected to the Google page to choose our Google account. Then Google page redirected us to the callback endpoint. The Google strategy got the Google user and we save him to the cache, and then we passed the user's temp ID as a parameter to the client side. So we returned back to the client side application. By the way, later I will show how to use state, and we will not use any redirection and routing at all. But now I will implement the routing on the client side. It doesn't work for us for this case. And now I will implement the endpoint to get the cached user. I won't describe how to handle database because it's outside the scope of this video. Let's implement this request on the client side. I saved you time and I've already implemented this quite simple HTTP request. Also, I implemented the user type interface. I'm talking about this object. Also, I a bit moderated the layout, and we can see the user's properties. I added HTTP model in imports. And I added course on the server side. And now you can see we have implemented the whole cycle. Let's improve this approach using state. Just remove this endpoint. We won't need it at all. I added this method. You can pause the video and look at it. I am opening a new window with this URL and with these parameters. You can read about this string and these parameters on this page. I will leave the link in the video description below. Also, I added this event listener to call this method. We will check this window, and as it is closed, we will make this request. We will get this ID from the client side. And now, as I said at the beginning of this video, I would like to talk why I didn't use this excellent client-side library. The first reason, I would like to have my own custom button. Moreover, unlikely you will have only Google sign-in button. And Google is offering extremely poor tools to customize Google login button. And as for this author, please read this article. It can also be confusing if the user isn't expecting to see their name and profile photo in this context, and so on and so on. Also, I will leave the link for this article with this
Hi everyone.
video.
On the server side, the retrieved ID token will
Quite useful article. I am a bit confused with this. They didn't use a client secret to validate ID token. Moreover, I can get this object with this simple function without client ID and client secret at all. What do you think about that? I hope this video was useful for you. Please give me a thumb up and bye bye.